Larry Scott, the very first Mr. Olympia, set the foundation for what the title would represent. Known as the golden boy of bodybuilding, Scott's physique was built around flawless proportions and round muscle bellies that made his arms in particular stand out as legendary. His signature movement, the preacher curl, became known as the Scott curl because of the incredible peak it gave his biceps. At a time when bodybuilding was still defining itself, Scott combined mass, symmetry, and presentation in a way that looked polished and professional. His broad shoulders and narrow waist created a flowing V-taper that highlighted both strength and aesthetics. Unlike later champions, conditioning wasn't yet razor-sharp, but his ability to present a balanced, photogenic body gave bodybuilding its first marketable star. Judges and fans alike saw in him the perfect blend of charisma and physique, which elevated the Olympia stage from a simple contest into a global showcase. By winning the first two Olympias in 1965 and 1966, Scott cemented the idea that bodybuilding wasn't just about being the biggest man on stage, but also about balance, lines, and the power of presentation. Sergio Oliva, known worldwide as the Myth, earned his nickname because his physique looked beyond human. From 1967 to 1969, he dominated the Olympia stage with proportions no one had ever seen before. Flaring lats that seemed to stretch into wings, a shockingly small waist, and massive limbs that created the sharpest V-taper of his era. What made Sergio so extraordinary was his ability to combine sheer mass with aesthetic flow, a combination that was rare at the time. Unlike earlier champions who relied more on balance and posing, Oliva presented raw size without losing beauty in his lines. His back width in particular became the standard by which future champions would be measured. Sergio's rivalry with a young Arnold Schwarzenegger pushed bodybuilding into the spotlight, drawing attention to the drama of Olympia battles. Arnold himself admitted that when he first faced Oliva, he was overwhelmed by Sergio's silhouette. Even decades later, bodybuilding fans still look at Sergio's photos and marvel at how futuristic he appeared compared to his peers. His 3 straight wins redefined what was possible for human muscle development, setting a new standard that forced every champion afterward to aim not just for size, but for a mythical level of proportions. Arnold Schwarzenegger revolutionized bodybuilding by fusing size, shape, and psychology into one package. Standing tall with broad shoulders, towering chest development, and enormous arms, Arnold didn't just display muscle, he projected dominance. His physique had a unique combination of mass and aesthetic flow, with sweeping lines that looked powerful yet balanced. From 1970 to 1975, he improved steadily, adding thickness and density without sacrificing symmetry. His famous chest, particularly the upper portion, became the best of its time, and his arms, peaked biceps and full triceps, set a new gold standard. Arnold's edge, however, was not only physical. He understood the mental game of competition. He mastered posing as a form of psychological warfare, using confidence, charisma, and precision to overshadow his rivals before judges even made comparisons. His ability to visualize his victory, peak at the right time, and manipulate stage dynamics set him apart. His comeback in 1980, though controversial, reinforced his legend by showing he could still command the stage after years away. Arnold's impact went beyond winning 7 Olympias. He transformed the event itself into a global phenomenon, proving bodybuilding could capture mainstream attention. In doing so, he permanently defined the role of a Mr. Olympia champion. Franco Columbu, often called the Sardinian strongman, brought a very different look to the Olympia stage. At just under 5 feet 5 inches, he proved that height was not a barrier to becoming the best in the world. What Franco lacked in stature, he made up for in density, strength, and compact muscle thickness. His chest and back were exceptionally powerful, a result of his background in powerlifting and strongman events. He was known for feats like lifting cars and performing incredible strength stunts, and that raw power translated directly into the visual hardness of his physique. In 1976, Franco stepped out of Arnold Schwarzenegger's shadow to claim his first Sandow. His combination of granite chest, barn door back, and razor-sharp conditioning made him impossible to ignore. After a serious leg injury during a World's Strongest Man contest, many doubted he could ever return. Yet in 1981, he shocked the bodybuilding world by coming back to win his second Olympia title. That victory was controversial, but it cemented his legacy as a resilient champion. Franco's career showed that proportions, density, and willpower could defeat taller, larger opponents. He embodied the principle that true bodybuilding greatness comes not only from muscle size, but from structure, balance, and determination. Frank Zane, nicknamed the Chemist for both his analytical approach and background in science, redefined what it meant to be a Mr. Olympia champion. Standing around 190 pounds, he was far smaller than many of his rivals, yet he managed to capture 3 consecutive titles through aesthetics, symmetry, and precision conditioning. His physique represented the classic Greek statue ideal: broad shoulders, a razor-thin waist, and perfect muscle proportions that created a flowing, balanced look from every angle. Zane's greatest weapon was his mastery of peaking. He meticulously meticulously controlled every detail: carbohydrate loading, water manipulation, and posing endurance, long before these became standard practice. On stage, he showcased the legendary vacuum pose, pulling his midsection tight to highlight his symmetry and taper. Against mass monsters, Zane proved that judges still valued beauty, proportion, and presentation. From 1977 to 1979, he demonstrated that bodybuilding was not just about size, but about the illusion of perfection. Fans and judges alike referred to his lines as flawless, making him the benchmark for aesthetics in the sport. Even today, competitors chasing the classic look often reference Frank Zane as the ultimate inspiration for elegance and symmetry in bodybuilding. Chris Dickerson made history in 1982 by becoming the first African-American Mr. Olympia and one of the most elegant champions ever to step on stage. At 43 years old, he was also among the oldest winners, proving that experience, presentation, and detail could triumph over youth and sheer size. His physique wasn't about overwhelming mass, it was about balance from head to toe, highlighted by some of the best calves in bodybuilding history. What set Dickerson apart was his artistic approach to posing. Every transition was graceful, every shot deliberate, and he knew how to display his strengths while minimizing any weaknesses. His structure gave him clean lines, and his conditioning added sharp separation that made each muscle group stand out. While competitors were beginning to push heavier mass in the early 1980s, Dickerson showed that classic proportion and mastery of stagecraft could still win the Sandow. His victory represented a turning point in bodybuilding. He carried forward the torch of symmetry and aesthetics from the Zane era, just before the sport shifted dramatically toward mass monsters with Lee Haney's rise. Dickerson's legacy endures as a reminder that grace and completeness are as much a part of bodybuilding excellence as size and power. Samir Bennou, famously known as the Lion of Lebanon, captured the Mr. Olympia title in 1983 with one of the most balanced and detailed physiques ever seen. While his career had been marked by near misses and potential, that year he brought everything together: fullness, symmetry, and the kind of conditioning that made his muscle definition look carved in stone. The highlight of Bannou's physique was his back development. His lats and lower back displayed rare feathering and striations, setting a new benchmark for detail in that area. Combined with a dense chest, tight waist, and aesthetic flow, he stood out as a champion with no obvious weaknesses. His posing was confident and polished, emphasizing his structure and balance from every angle. Samir's win is often remembered as a classic physique victory during a time when the sport was transitioning into the mass-focused era. While he held the title for only 1 year, his look became a reference point for what a complete package should resemble. Fans and experts still regard his 1983 form as one of the most beautiful Olympia-winning physiques ever, showcasing that symmetry plus sharp conditioning can overcome size alone. Lee Haney dominated bodybuilding through the 1980s, winning 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles, a record that stood untouched until Ronnie Coleman tied it years later. Haney's physique combined mass, proportion, and aesthetics in a way that reset the standard for what champions needed to bring. He wasn't just big, he was wide, with enormous clavicle width that gave him one of the greatest front lat spreads of all time, yet his waist stayed tight enough to preserve balance. Haney's philosophy, stimulate, don't annihilate, captured his smart approach to training. He consistently added size and density year after year without ruining his symmetry. His back development was legendary, broad and detailed, and his chest, shoulders, and arms all flowed together into a complete commanding package. Unlike some who relied on shock factor, Haney built his dynasty on consistency and improvement, showing up in top condition every year. Beyond the stage, Haney professionalized the sport by emphasizing recovery, nutrition, and longevity. His reign signaled the shift into a new era where athletes had to combine size with aesthetics to win. For 8 years straight, no one could topple him, making Haney a symbol of dominance with beauty in bodybuilding history. Dorian Yates, known as the Shadow, changed bodybuilding forever when he stepped onto the Olympia stage in the early 1990s. Winning 6 consecutive titles from 1992 to 1997, he introduced a new standard built on density, hardness, and extreme conditioning. His physique wasn't just big, it looked carved from granite. Every muscle fiber was visible, especially under his famous back double biceps pose, which remains one of the most iconic shots in bodybuilding history. Yates brought a no-nonsense training style called blood and guts, focusing on brutally intense, low-volume workouts. This approach created shocking muscle density and detail that competitors couldn't match. His grainy look, complete with striations and separation in even the hardest-to-reach areas, redefined what it meant to be stage-ready. Even injuries couldn't derail him. He often competed with torn muscles, but still dominated due to his sheer presence and conditioning. His reign marked the beginning of bodybuilding's hardcore mass and conditioning era, forcing every future champion to meet a higher bar for detail and size. Dorian Yates wasn't just a winner, he was a pioneer who shifted the sport's judging criteria toward the extreme standards still seen today. Ronnie Coleman, nicknamed the King, is widely regarded as the most dominant Mr. Olympia champion in history. From 1998 to 2005, he won 8 consecutive titles, tying Haney's record, but doing it with an entirely different approach, through unprecedented size combined with shocking detail. At his peak in 2003, Ronnie stepped on stage weighing nearly 300 pounds, yet displayed striations, vascularity, and separation that seemed impossible at that mass. His back development, especially the rear lat spread and back double biceps, is often called the greatest of all time. Dense, wide, and detailed beyond belief. His legs, with freakishly large quads and deeply separated hamstrings, only added to his dominance. Despite his size, Ronnie still maintained balance, with a small enough waist and round muscle bellies that gave him an aesthetic edge over blockier competitors. Beyond his physique, Ronnie became legendary for his hardcore training style, immortalized by his catchphrases like "Yeah, buddy" and "lightweight baby." His combination of mass, freak factor, and undeniable conditioning raised the ceiling of what bodybuilding could be. To this day, Ronnie Coleman's reign represents the ultimate standard of mass with detail, a benchmark no champion has truly surpassed. Cutler, known as the Comeback Kid, carved his place in Olympia history with 4 titles and a reputation for relentless perseverance. After years as Ronnie Coleman's runner-up, he finally dethroned the King in 2006, proving that his combination of size, structure, and presentation could topple even the most dominant champion. His wide frame, enormous quads, and signature quad stomp pose became defining trademarks of his stage presence. Cutler's physique was built for comparisons. His broad shoulders and massive legs made him appear larger than anyone he stood next to, while his conditioning and balance kept him competitive year after year. After losing the title in 2008, Jay returned in 2009 to reclaim the Sando, becoming the first bodybuilder in history to lose and then win back the Olympia crown. That comeback cemented his legacy as one of the sport's most resilient champions. What made Jay stand out was not just his physique, but also his professionalism and discipline. He treated bodybuilding like a full-time business, meticulously managing training, diet, and presentation. His era demonstrated that persistence, smart planning, and adaptation can rewrite history, even against the toughest odds. Heath, known as The Gift, dominated bodybuilding in the 2000s with 7 consecutive Olympia titles, tying Arnold Schwarzenegger's total. His physique was defined by round, full muscle bellies that gave him a 3D look unmatched by his peers. Every body part, from his capped delts and peaked biceps to his sweeping quads, popped with separation and fullness, creating the illusion of a cartoon-like superhero physique. What truly set Phil apart was his ability to look complete from every angle. His front shots exploded with fullness, his side poses highlighted roundness and balance, and his back displayed dense detail. At his peak, there were virtually no weak points. His stage presence, confidence, and precise posing reinforced his dominance year after year. While critics later pointed to his midsection control as a weakness, especially in 2016 and 2017, his reign defined the standard for modern bodybuilding. Symmetry, mass, and roundness combined with surgical conditioning. Heath's era reignited debates about what the ultimate physique should be, freaky size or aesthetic beauty, but his run left no doubt that his gift was one of the most complete packages ever to hold the Sando. Shawn Rhoden, nicknamed Flexitron, stunned the bodybuilding world in 2018 when he dethroned 7-time champion Heath. His victory was a dramatic reminder that shape, aesthetics, and flow could still prevail over sheer size and roundness. Rhoden's physique was built on a streamlined waist, sweeping quads, wide shoulders, and crisp conditioning, an overall silhouette that echoed the golden era look of past champions like Frank Zane, but with modern muscle density. On stage, Shawn's presentation was calm, confident, and graceful. His tight midsection contrasted sharply with Heath's distended stomach, and that difference played a pivotal role in the judge's decision. Every pose highlighted his classic proportions and balance, showing that bodybuilding was not only about mass, but about maintaining harmony between size and aesthetics. Rhoden's win was more than just a title. It represented a shift in judging priorities. After years of favoring size and fullness, the Olympia stage rewarded rewarded a physique that combined modern mass with classical lines. Though his reign lasted only 1 year, his 2018 victory remains one of the most celebrated upsets in Olympia history, proving that flow and beauty can still conquer at the sport's highest level. Brandon Curry claimed the Mr. Olympia title in 2019, stepping into the spotlight as the sport entered a new transition period. Known for his aesthetic structure and wide clavicles, Curry brought a physique that blended modern mass with golden-era flow. His broad shoulders and small waist created a powerful V-taper, while his chest and arms gave him standout front poses like the front lat spread and most muscular. Curry's conditioning in 2019 was sharp enough to separate him from the field, and his stage presentation was polished and confident. While not the largest champion in Olympia history, his ability to combine fullness with balance made him the clear winner. His arms in particular were among the best in the sport, thick, round, and detailed, complementing his wide frame. His victory came at a time when the Olympia stage was open for new leadership, following the decline of Phil Heath and the passing of Sean Roden. Curry showed that the title could still go to an athlete who emphasized proportion and lines over extreme mass. His win solidified him as a modern champion who carried forward the aesthetic values of bodybuilding while still delivering the size required at the highest level. Mamdouh Elssbiay, better known as Big Ramy, fulfilled years of anticipation when he finally captured the Olympia crown in 2020 and successfully defended it in 2021. Standing over 5 feet 9 inches and weighing close to 300 pounds on stage, Ramy became a symbol of sheer mass and presence. For years, fans had marveled at his incredible size, but inconsistent conditioning kept him from winning. In 2020, he put everything together: sharp conditioning, controlled midsection, and disciplined posing to dominate the field. What defined Ramy's look was his lower body development. His quads were some of the most massive and deeply separated ever seen, flaring outward in a way that dwarfed his competitors. Paired with broad shoulders and a small enough waist, his silhouette was overwhelming. By 2021, he repeated the formula, confirming that his size, when paired with proper detail, was unbeatable. Big Ramy's reign marked the return of the mass monster era, proving that even in modern bodybuilding, extreme size still holds a decisive edge when combined with stage-ready condition. His titles reminded fans and athletes alike that the Sandow can still go to the competitor who simply looks the most imposing under the lights. Derek Lunsford made history by becoming the first bodybuilder ever to win both the 212 Olympia 2021 and the Open Mr. Olympia 2023 to 2024. His rise symbolized a new era in bodybuilding, one where shape, detail, and balance could scale up to the massive Open division without being lost. Lunsford's physique was defined by wide lats, round delts, a tight waist, and flawless flow, giving him one of the best V-tapers on the modern stage. What separated Derek from his rivals was his back development and conditioning. His rear lat spread and back double biceps displayed thickness, detail, and width that very few could match. Despite adding significant size to compete with the Open giants, he maintained the sharp, dry conditioning that made him dominant in the 212 class. His ability to bring fullness without sacrificing aesthetics made him stand out in both 2023 and 2024. Lunsford's victory signaled a shift in Olympia judging, rewarding athletes who blend modern mass with classic flow. His success redefined what an Open champion could look like, establishing him as the blueprint for future champions and confirming that bodybuilding's future lies in aesthetic mass with precision detail.